I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask the city clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Sorrell?
Here.
Assistant Mayor Hanson? He is here. Councilor Grasso?
Here.
Councilor Farini?
Here.
Councilor Marchand?
Here.
Councilor Penelakis?
Here.
Councilor Hines?
Here.
Councilor Reynolds?
Here.
And Councilor Whitehouse?
Here.
I'd like to ask everyone to rise for a moment of silent prayer, and then Councilor Pandalakis will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, finished by God Bless America.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America.
Now we're down to the proclamations, and the first one being the Shaw Brothers' 45th year in the entertainment business. And I'm sorry, people, and people at home, they can't sing tonight on account of the sound system, but you know we love you. Joanne is going to read the proclamation.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Before I begin, I'd like to thank Rick and Ron Shaw for giving us a great concert during our 375th year as a city when we had our celebration. It was very generous of you. Thank you so much. A proclamation. Whereas Rick and Ron Shaw are celebrating their 45th year in the entertainment business, and whereas these New Hampshire natives launched their long and successful career at the University of New Hampshire, where they joined with 3 other classmates to win an international music competition. And whereas they were part of the Hillside Singers when the group in 1971 recorded the international hit, I'd Like to Teach the World to Sing, also known as the Coca-Cola song. And whereas in 1974, the Shaw Brothers were offered their own contract with RCA Records and have been a duo ever since. And whereas their original composition, New Hampshire Naturally, was named the official state song by a special act of the New Hampshire legislature in 1981. Now, therefore, I, Evelyn Sorrell, Mayor of the City of Portsmouth, on behalf of the City Council and all our citizens, with great pleasure congratulate the Shaw Brothers on their 45 years of entertaining audiences in New Hampshire and around the world, and naturally wish them many more years of success. Given with my hand and seal of the City of Portsmouth on the 14th day of May, 2004, Evelyn Sorrell, Mayor of Portsmouth.
I'd love to have you come up, Rick and Ron, and accept the proclamation and your gifts. Just a couple little quickie gifts, and when you sing the Portsmouth song, you know, wear that. That is the proclamation for both of you, and a gift. And now I want you to go to the podium and say a few words for the people at home.
Certainly.
Thank you. Thank you both so very much. You don't change a bit. How do you do it?
Just like to say on behalf of my brother Ron and myself, what a pleasure and honor it is to be here with you this evening and to accept with great gratitude your proclamation and gifts. And we certainly have felt a very close relationship with Portsmouth all these years and have many friends in the area, and it's what we always consider Portsmouth our home. And I want to just to mention what you were saying with regard to our 45th anniversary. It's hard to believe. We are celebrating that next Friday night with a concert, special concert at the Unitarian Church here in Portsmouth. And we'd love to see as many people as would be interested in coming to join us to help celebrate that occasion. And for ticket information, there's the Cousin Richard Entertainment Agency here in Portsmouth, and also tickets available at the Lollipop shop over here in Portsmouth, as well as Califf's in Barrington. So thank you so much, and it would be an honor.
Thank you so very much. Now we're down to the National Police Week and Peace Officers Memorial Day, and I have asked Councilor Pandalakis to read it.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A proclamation. Whereas the Congress and the President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which it falls as National Police Week, and whereas the members of the Portsmouth Police Department play an essential role in the safeguarding and the rights and the freedoms of the citizens of Portsmouth, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, and sacrifices of our police department, and whereas it is also important that members of our police department be recognized their duties to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And whereas the men and women of the Portsmouth Police Department continually provide a vital public service, now, therefore, I, Evelyn Sorrell, Mayor of the City of Portsmouth, join with the members of the City Council in calling upon the citizens of Portsmouth and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 9th through the 15th, 2004, as National Police Week, with the appropriate observance commending law officers, enforcement officers, past and present, who by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities have rendered dedication service to their community. I further call upon all citizens of Portsmouth to observe Saturday, May 15th, Peace Officers Memorial Day, in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made ultimate sacrifices in service to their community or have become disabled in the performance of their duty. Let us recognize and pay respect to them and their families, giving it with my hand and seal in the City of Portsmouth on the 3rd day of May, 2004. Evelyn Sorrell, Mayor of the City of Portsmouth.
Thank you, Councilor Pandalakis. I really feel very safe tonight with all of this protection around us. It's good to see you all. Is the chief going to accept it, the proclamation, or who might we expect up here? I got to watch out for that one next to you. He was buddies with my son, Richard. You what? He did. I can't give you a hug or a kiss. I'm too far away. Take care. Say a few words.
Well, I want to congratulate the Shaw brothers, 45 years, and I'm only 47 years old, but I've had the opportunity to go to a couple of their shows, and it was very enjoyable. But I do want to put in a plug for Aerosmith, because I do believe they get their start in New Hampshire also. It'd be a lot of fun to have them show up here one evening. It actually, since the start of, I guess, law enforcement as a profession, over 15,000 police officers, state, local, federal, have been killed in the line of duty. New Hampshire, I believe, alone has 29. 3 have died within the last 3 years. So we take this week and we put it aside to honor the police officers, their memory, their service, and also their families. And we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy agenda to honor them also. I do want to invite you down to the police department on Saturday. We're going to have our open house Saturday morning from 9 to 12. So if you have the time, come on down. We're going to have the emergency response team and the canine dogs and the full show that we do every year. So we appreciate it if you have the time to show up. Tim, did you want to say anything?
No, thank you very much, and it's an honor to work for the citizens of Portsmouth, and we thank them for the support from not only the department as a whole, but the specialty teams such as the Honor Guard and the accident team. And it's a real pleasure to work here. So.
Thank you, both of you. I'm quite sure a lot of us will be there, but my problem is the canine dogs. They don't like me. And I was told it's my voice.
I don't know about that, Mayor. The dogs don't like me, and I was told it's the handler, so.
But I love each and every one of them that we've got, and hopefully we'll get a bomb dog one of these days.
Mayor, councilors, we have a great police department. We really do.
Yeah, you sure do.
Men and women.
Wonderful,
Thank you.
wonderful. Thank you both very much. Now we're down to the acceptance of the minutes of the meeting for April 12th, 2004.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Now we're down to the public comment session, 3 minutes, and when your time is up, our city attorney will hold up the little thank you card, and we have 6 speakers tonight. The first one being a former city councilor. Welcome, Bill St. Laurent, and he's going to talk about raising parking meter funds and meter rates. Welcome, Bill.
Hi, Your Honor. How are you tonight?
Fine, thank you.
City Council. My name is Bill St. Laurent. I live at 253 Colonial Drive. I'm just here to discuss concerns for the suggestions made by the city manager for our upcoming city budget. Several times I'm hearing that Mr. Bahenko mentions the increasing of parking fines from $5 to $10 and increasing the meter fees from 50 cents to $1. I'm not against increasing the fees. I'm just against how it seems they will be used. It seems that the reason for this is to keep the tax rate down and consequently save the taxpayers money. I submit to this council that you think a lot about this proposal. It may set a dangerous precedent by using funds already keyed to supporting our parking situation, which is not unlike state committees and legislatures that dip into other funds and appear that they are helping the taxpayer. The parking meter fund is similar to an enterprise fund, which it supports itself. And once you dip into these funds, the taxpayer down the road will eventually have to kick in taxpayer money to be able to support and fund the parking situation. It would be similar to increasing the water rate and using the increased amount to decrease taxes. It is not the responsibility of a city council to juggle taxes to seem to keep the tax rate down. It's your responsibility to make sure that the various city departments are controlling their spending, that unnecessary spending be reduced or deleted. Remember, some of the department budgets come to you inflated, with the expectation of being reduced. I've sat in your seats and I know what you'll be going through with these budgets. But if you do not hold firm, you let the local citizens down and eventually will drive them from this city by taxing them out of their homes. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Bill, very much. Good to see you again. The next speaker is H.W. Eckert, and he is going to speak on the JFK.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Ecker, 422 Banfield Road. I believe Mrs. Pantelakis Mrs. Pantelakis is not here tonight. Yes, she is. There she is. A while ago, you said that you didn't want to pay any money to buy any more land, that we had enough land to put the library on. However, I guess now you're going to vote, or whatever, to pay money to buy land that's already our land. That's my understanding. That's so much for your vision committee, Mrs. Sorrell. Because years ago, these people had a vision that they'd have a recreation area in the middle of this city. Years ago. No vision committee. And let's see. $7 million, Mr. Bahenko.
Mr. Eckert,
okay,
I told you
let's
the
stop
last
right there. Let's
time
stop
you
right there.
spoke, you let me finish. You do not talk personalities.
Okay.
You signed up for the JFK Center, and that's what I want you to talk on.
$7 million for the library. Is that what it's going to be? If you're going to pay for the land, then that's $7 million plus. Or am I wrong? And that was $7 million a while ago. Prices
Don't
are
answer
escalating.
questions
Prices
during
are escalating.
public
Things are
comment.
not the same. Oil, gasoline, everything's going up. How about all the private donations that we're getting? My grandmother always told me, put your money where your mouth is at. That if you're going to want something, to do something, you put some money in. I'm looking at a bunch of people up there that are good for at least 10 grand apiece, $10,000 apiece. You got 18 members, I think, on the library committee. There's another 10 grand apiece. I'll bet you that you can't get $1,000 amongst a whole bunch of you up there right now, donations. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to Northeast Utilities, you're going to go to Public Gas Company, you're going to go to Comcast, you're going to go to the restaurants, you're going to go to the gas stations, you're going to go to the supermarkets, you're going to go to all the businesses, you're going to hit all the businesses first, and you're going to make them seem like if they don't give some money, they're awful people. So it's going to come back on the people like me, the small people, that's going to pay the bill. Good place for the libraries in the federal building. You could put the $7 million to work right there and redo that. All the parking in the world. You know, when I go to Mr. McGee is my attorney. When I go to see him, I have to park at the JFK. When I go to the courthouse for something, I have to park at the JFK. So where do you think all these people are going to park when you put the library there? I was in sports quite a while ago, back in the 80s. Really into it. Spent a lot of money in ladies softball teams. It's a beautiful place. I don't know if you people are into sports or not. If you've gone to, thank you, Bob. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Thank you very much, Mr. Eckert. Bob Hasselhoff, and he's going to speak about graffiti and uncleanliness down in the downtown of Portsmouth. Bob, they've been doing that for years. Way back in the 50s when I worked at Montgomery Ward. Same spot.
Bob Hassel, 15 Mount Vernon Street, and I promise you I'm not going to be talking about the library tonight.
Thank you.
Evelyn Sorrell, councilors, John Bohinko. I am just about starting my 10th year in Portsmouth, and I have seen very little improvement on the cleanliness of downtown. A few years ago, you had two men that were doing an excellent job cleaning the city. They were there from June till October, and they are greatly missed. And I don't know what your budget's like this year, but it should be included. It should be a must to have two men down there. They not only cleaned the city, but they were great PR people for the residents and for tourists who were coming into the town. I have started an environmental club cleanup with the Kathleen Medeville of the high school. They are doing an excellent job. They just did the South Mill Pond on both sides of the South Mill Pond here a few weeks ago and cleaned up a tremendous amount of trash. However, they can't keep up with the amount of trash that is brought into this city and is dispersed all over the city. Parrott Avenue parking lot is a city piece of property, I believe. I very seldom see anybody in there cleaning it. It is a disgrace. Beer cans, all kinds of rubbish all over the place. Let's go to the Market Street tree lights. Need attention. They are, I don't know whether any of you have been downtown to see the tree lights hanging down from all the trees throughout Market Street. They're hanging down, they're on the ground, they're being pulled by kids, they're breaking off branches of the trees. Why are they still up? They're only going to be taken down anyway this fall. So take them down now before they're unsightly. The recently planted trees, the new trees that were planted by Eagle Photo in the church, walk down there, take a look at the stakes that are holding the trees up. They've all been kicked over. They're laying down on the sidewalk. And they've been like that now since probably last November. A couple of times I took my own hammer down and hammered the stakes back in just so that the kids wouldn't see that they were just laying there, and why not do that to those? The quote of Portsmouth Herald editorial back on April 27th, it was about graffiti. The article says that the city said it hasn't done anything about the defacement of buildings because no one has asked for help. Help! We need help. Is that the end of it? Graffiti only presents or brings in more graffiti. Please give us a helping hand to keep it out of the town.
Thank you, Bob. The next speaker is Larry Trigger, and he's going to speak about mobile food vendors.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for hearing my concerns. I'm Larry Traeger. I own Bell Peppers on Congress Street in downtown, and I have a concern about the amount of mobile vendors that are allowed in the city. To the local businesses, they're basically subsidized restaurants that you're allowing. For me to have 2 tables and 4 chairs outside of my restaurant, it costs me $140 a year. But if I wanted to buy a mobile vending unit for $250 a year, I could drive it, park it at a meter, clog the sidewalks with customers, paint it any color I want. When I wanted to change my awning downtown, I had to come here to the Historic District Commission, show them pictures, get the color approved. I don't understand why the vendors can do whatever they want. The other day I went through Market Square, and there was a new sausage guy there now. They have the hot dog guy. Now there's a sausage guy. His thing looks like a carnival setup, like there should be a Ferris wheel next to him. He had a stainless steel 3-bay sink right in the middle of Market Square. So I don't let my employees do dishes in the front of my restaurant. I don't think tourists want to see people doing dishes in the middle of Market Square. All this does is hurt the local businesses that are open year-round, that help make this city a better place to live, and the city sponsors these vendors to come in and take our business away. It's not a fair thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Dennis, and I'm going to kill your last name, Bobelai? Am I close? Okay. He's going to speak on Echo Hill condos.
Vladimir, City Council. My name is Dennis Bobilia, and I'm a resident of the Echo Hill Condominium Association. And I'm an abutter of the Hooley Way development. This is an item that's going to be later you'll receive a report on. And because I recently had surgery, I can't stand or sit for very long, so I won't be able to stick around for any discussion that you might have on this. But I would like to take a minute of your time to share a few of my own observations, if you would please. A few years ago, the planning board approved this development on the condition that the neighboring properties would not be adversely affected. At the time, the neighbors voiced our grave misgivings, but we were promised that safeguards would be put in place to prevent any damage to our property. The developers then proceeded to clear-cut all of the trees and bulldoze the watershed on the Echo Hill, and they have proceeded to pave over and build up nearly every square inch of soil on the hill, and we live just below the hill. So far, they've built 3 homes of the 6 homes that they plan to build on this hill. But already we are seeing significantly increased runoff of water onto our property. For the last 2 summers, Every time it rains, we have a muddy brown stream of water that runs down from the hill onto our property that makes it look somewhat like we're the Mississippi Delta. Certainly not exactly, but we do have this brown water that runs down, and it's clogging pond that we have. We now have a perennially moist and wet land where previously we had dry land. We have a brook where we used to have an occasional trickle of water only when we had heavy rains. And a pond on our property has been heavily silted over with runoff from this property that's been developed. I feel that we've been forced basically to accept whatever runoff comes down from the hill onto our property. And we have yet to see what will happen when all 6 homes have been built up and we get a severe thunderstorm. That inevitable scenario concerns me very much.
Dennis, I'm going to have to ask you to finish it up. Your 3 minutes is up.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. I appreciate your attention to this matter.
And you will be hearing from me, definitely. Now we're down to the final speaker, Linda Harvey, Echo Hill.
Good evening. My name is Linda Harvey. I am from Echo Hill Condominium Association. And I just wanted to make a general comment on the informational item number 3 that you will be looking at later in your packet, which is a report back, I believe, from the environmental engineer to Mr. Bohanko regarding Echo Hill Condominium Association drainage situation. Since I did have several questions on that report, I talked with Peter Fritz today. In discussing the various concerns, I did make myself available to show Peter and Dave DeFossis the exact areas on Echo Hill's property that have been impacted. Peter agreed that when he and Mr. DeFossis came out to Echo Hill again, he will contact me to meet with them, and I appreciate that effort on his part. And I want to thank you for your continuing process on this matter.
Thank you, Linda. That ends the public comment session, and now we are down to the public hearing, and it's notice hereby given, ordinance amending Chapter 7, Article 3, Section 7.330, no parking, Hancock Street, northerly side of Hancock Street from Marcy Street, a distance of 115 feet. Alex, did you want to speak to this?
Madam Mayor, it's currently been posted for a number of years as no parking. In checking the ordinance, it was put in as an emergency procedure by the then Police Chief Bill Burke, and it has to do with the buses being able to get around there to drop off the visitors, and it's never been put into the actual ordinance, so that's the purpose of this is for enforcement.
Very good. Thank you very much. We will open up the public hearing. For first-time speakers, please come down to the podium. For, against, or simply to. Do I have any first-time speakers? We're to second time around. Do I have any speakers? Third and final time before I close this public hearing. Do I have any speakers? Closed. Now we're down to considerations of resolutions and ordinances. Let's see. All right. The first one is the first reading of ordinance amending Chapter 7, Article 3, Section 7, period 327, limited parking, 2 hours, Washington Street, northerly side, between State Street and Court Street. What is your wish, councilors?
Move first reading, hold second reading, public hearing on May 17th, 2004.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Second reading of ordinance amending Chapter 7, Article 3, Section 7, Period 330, no parking, Hancock Street, northerly side of Hancock Street from Marcy Street, a distance of 115 feet.
Move second reading, third and final reading at the May 17th
Second.
meeting.
Discussion? Councilor Whitehouse?
Yes, Your Honor, just one question. Does that take you from the corner of Hancock and Marcy all the way down to the entrance to the Strawberry Bank parking lot?
No,
How far down does it bring you?
about 115 feet.
From the entrance to the parking lot?
From Hancock,
Yes.
Marcy, from Marcy down Hancock, 115 feet.
Yeah. So it brings you, it doesn't,
Right where it is, no parking today.
yeah, all right.
Any other discussion before the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Approval of grants and donations. The first one is the acceptance of a donation to the City Cultural Commission from Arts in Rochester to the amount of $500. Somebody would like to make a motion?
Your Honor?
Yes.
I move that we
Councilor
accept the donation from Arts Rochester to the Portsmouth Arts Speak.
Second.
Discussion? Ned, Councilor Reynolds?
Question. I think it's a terrific gesture from the community of Rochester. I was just wondering if the city manager perhaps could, or someone could explain what it was that they were referring to. There's a note in our packet. Thanks for the wonderful presentation. Was that our economic development director? And
I would believe it might have been Chris Dwyer.
Okay.
Chris is chair of the Arts Speak.
Chris. Yep.
Chris Dwyer.
Chris Dwyer and Nancy
Carmer.
Okay. Great.
All ready for the vote?
Very active committee. They're upstairs meeting as we speak.
Right. Wonderful thing. Took off great. Okay. Did I get a motion on that?
Yes.
Yes.
A motion to see.
And I got a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Acceptance of the Community Development Block Grant from the U.S. Housing and Urban Development in the amount of $789,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Yes, John.
Ron, I just wanted to make note that Karen Jacoby's here tonight. Karen's been with us for 15 years, city employee with the Community Development Office. She's chosen to make a career change. Will be leaving the city's employ. I just want to take the opportunity to thank her for her 15 years of service. She has done a great job with the Community Development Office. She does a lot of the real background work for making sure that we stay on the straight and narrow with the housing and urban development. But I want to thank Karen on behalf of city employees, and she'll be going into teaching.
Oh, wonderful. We will miss you, Karen. Seems strange not to see you out in the corridors. Good job. We all ready for the vote on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Acceptance of a donation from Robert and Naki Scarlatti in the amount of $1,000, specially made out for the repairs and all of that to the Pleasant Street Cemetery. Councilor Grasso?
Your Honor, I move that the City Council accept the $1,000 donation from Mr. and Mrs. Scagliotti, and that the use be designated for the Pleasant Street Cemetery.
Second.
All right, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
We could send a letter of thanks
Yep.
from the mayor.
Right, I already did, Alex.
Cash and check.
He came and visited. I'm sorry to see them leave. You'll see his resignation further in. Yeah, they're going to be traveling. All right, we're down to presentations and considerations of written communications and petitions. The first one is, we'll basket the first one. Renewal request for sidewalk obstruction licenses for the following businesses with no changes for last year. Okay, who would like to make that motion and name them? We'll do both the three of them all together.
Okay, Madam Mayor, move to refer the city manager with power of the following approvals: Starbucks Coffee, 4 tables and 8 chairs, 100 restaurant, 1 A-frame sign, and Portsmouth Provisions, 1 A-frame sign.
Okay. We have a second. Any discussion?
Second.
We ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. A request for a sidewalk obstruction license for Helen Marks, spiritual reader by Duchess, to place 1 A-frame sign in front of the establishment. Who would like to make the motion? Come on, you new councilors. Ned?
Your Honor, I'd be happy to make a motion on this. Would you accept a motion to basket the next 3? And
Well, if they're new ones, we don't usually basket.
we don't? Okay.
No.
Well, then I'll just make a motion to refer this to the city manager with file.
Okay.
Second.
Very good. Any other discussion? Harold, you had your hand up.
No.
No. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Now we're down to a request for a sidewalk obstruction license for Michelle Lutzaway, Saucy Grace, to place 1 A-frame sign in front of establishment.
Move the city manager with power.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. A request for a sidewalk obstruction license for Angela Demo, Bliss by the Sea Salon, sorry about that, to place 1 A-frame sign in front of establishment.
Move the city manager with power.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. A request for a sidewalk obstruction license for J. Frank Frylander, Old Natural, to place 1 additional A-frame sign at the second entrance to his building. Tom, would you like to make that motion?
Yes, I'd be happy to move that, Madam Mayor, to the city manager with power.
Do I get a second? Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. A letter from Larry Trager regarding policy for mobile food vendors. And Ned, I'm going to ask you to read that because you are the head of the vendors committee.
Okay.
So this will open the door for you to start working on something like that.
Very good. Very good. Actually, I took it out when he was up here earlier. Letter from Larry Trager, owner of Bell Peppers Cafe. I am writing regarding Portsmouth's policy for mobile food vendors. Every mobile vendor that the city allows in town hurts the local small business core that helps this city thrive. The reasons I believe these type of food service operations should be banned are as follows. 1, they contribute nothing to the city. They park unsightly trucks on city streets during peak business hours and take the money and leave. 2, they take parking away from tourists and shoppers. Pepe's Tacos parks on Hanover Street, 2 metered spots every day while people visiting the city complain that there's a parking problem. 3, they do not hire any local residents. If they hurt local small business to the point where they have to let employees go, then the mobile vendors are taking jobs out of the community. 4, they provide unfair competition. They do not have the high rents, utilities, water, and overhead bills that the local restaurants pay. This allows them to undercut our prices and take our customers away. Number 5, the local restaurants and retail stores have helped this city become a year-round destination. There is a reason you don't see these vendors other than during peak business days. We deserve a certain level of protection during the business seasons because that business can make or break a year for a restaurant. Number 6, I have to pay almost as much to have 4 chairs and 2 tables in front of my deli as a mobile vendor has to pay to sell food for the year.
Does the city need the $250 from a mobile vendor that badly that it's willing to hurt businesses that hire employees, pay rent and taxes, and provide year-round services for the community? Number 7, local business people invest their time and money in trying to better the city. For example, Jay McSherry has revitalized 2 parts of town with his restaurants. He put time and money into opening Dos Amigos on State Street, and the city allows competition to roll into town every day for a nominal fee. The city of Portsmouth has more restaurants per capita than any city in the country. I believe our restaurants do an excellent job of providing quality food, service, and variety for local residents and tourists alike. There is not a need for mobile vendors as they are not filling any void that exists. I would appreciate the city rethinking their policy on this matter, and I thank you for your time in reading my concerns. Please feel free to call me at any time. Thank you, Larry Traeger, owner of Bell Peppers and Bell Peppers Food.
Thank you, Ned. Now, would somebody like to make a motion to pass it to the vendors committee? Councilor
Yes,
Gadsden?
I move that we pass this letter to the vendors committee.
Second.
All in favor?
What?
For report back.
Sorry, Harold wants to speak. Harold?
I wish the maker of the motion would stipulate time certain for reporting back, because we're going into the summer season. I'd like to have this.
Good thought. I'm not sure when I have meetings, so.
This will be the first one.
I'm not either. So we'll have one.
This will be
As soon as possible, report back.
Absolutely.
Very good. Did we take the vote? All in favor? Yes.
I think some of you weren't on this council at that time, but shortly after I came on the council, I headed up the vendors committee, and the reason that it's $250 was that it was the only thing I could get past here. I wanted either $500 or $1,000, because I think they are detrimental to our businesses downtown, and I don't believe we need them in the city. And I think that I hope we take a lot of consideration to what he's written here tonight at the vendors committee. Thank you.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
One part of the discussion that needs to happen is I recommend the vendors committee get the downtown merchants involved. But the reason that the vendors they were really so popular is down at Prescott Park during the summer. And it was the young families that were coming, putting their blankets down and eating their hot dogs. And actually, that's where they used to hang out until the hot dog guy went up in the middle of the square. But for several years, you saw them, that's where they did their business, the sausage, the cotton candy, and the ice cream. Mm-hmm. And so just a little bit of feedback, and you may want to chat with those folks. Yeah.
I don't think Larry's got anything against the hot dog carts and things like that. This is a mobile truck that comes in and sets up. Right, Larry?
Well,
all of them.
Yeah, I mean, people down at Prescott Park that
right.
Showtime still bugging me so much, but Pepe's Park's a block away from my restaurant every single day, about 20 feet away from Billy's, across the street from Shalimar, Bananas, and Subway. And my concern is also confusion, because I know you have more of these permits available, and I'm wondering how many of these trucks are going to roll in town, walk over 250, and they could be on the street corner, and there's no law right now saying they can't set up. They can set up wherever they want. I read the applications this morning, and any sidewalk, any street they can set up on. So theoretically, someone can buy one and sell food exactly what I do and take the meter right in front of my restaurant. There's zero I can do about it.
Well, we'll get started on this, Larry. And Ned, you come up and see me, and maybe Laura will help you out how to get this going. Okay?
Absolutely. I was going to...
Very good. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. All opposed? What? Did you have something else you wanted to say?
Well, I just was... Councilor Farini had his hand up, and I was suspecting that perhaps the Economic Development Commission might be a part of that.
Well, no, actually,
I don't know.
my thought was actually, I just would suggest that if there's no ordinance there, we'd want to make sure if there's an ability to, in the event you decide to not totally remove them from the city or whatever your deliberations are, you'd want to know what your abilities are to perhaps draft something that makes it a closely drawn item in the event it's not completely withdrawn. And whatever the wisdom of the committee is, we look forward to hearing. But whatever zoning, or rather, whatever ordinance environment there is, I'd hope to get your hands on.
And Your Honor, I was going to suggest that they may, one of the things to do is they may want to specify where vendors are appropriate and where they're not.
Mm-hmm. So you've got your job cut out for you.
Got my merchandise.
Right? We don't want to end up with a hot dog war like we had last year.
Right.
Okay. All in favor? Did we do that?
Yeah.
Yep.
we did.
Oh, we've already done it. Never mind everyone. Okay. Now, G. A letter from Mario Gerbetti requesting to purchase city-owned land on Barberry Lane. Councilor Marchand.
Absolutely, Madam Mayor. Dear Sir, Madam, address to the City Council. As a new property owner at 16 Barberry Lane, I understand that the City of Portsmouth owns, due to non-payment of taxes, a vacant lot adjacent to my property. This lot was owned by Canino and is designated by the Assessor's Office as 233-133. From what I was told, the back taxes owed are $3,065.15. I'm interested in purchasing this lot as I would like to put a two-car garage on it. I believe in reviewing my zoning of SRB, adding this lot to my own would give me the room to put up a garage. I have spoken to all abutting neighbors, and they have been verbally supportive of this idea. Hopefully you will agree with me that the city would be better served in having this lot owned by a taxpayer rather than being a vacant, overgrown lot not on the city tax base. And he gives his number and signs it, Mario Ghiberti, 16 Barberry Lane.
Very good. Does somebody want to make a motion?
Move to refer to the planning board.
Very good.
Report back.
Second.
Very good. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? A letter from Janice Mellon, Portsmouth Garden Club, requesting to be involved in planning the garden at the new library.
Your Honor, I move that we refer this letter to Mary Ann List and the Library Building Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? A letter from Carl Walton, requesting the City Council to participate in the Memorial Day Parade and services on Monday, May 31st, 2004. Councilor Hines, you're that. You want to make the motion?
Sure, Your Honor. Carl Walton, who is the president of the Central Veterans Council, among other things, has invited the public to parade and attend the parade on Veterans Day, which is going to be from 12:30 hours. They're going to step off at Junkins Avenue and go up Pleasant Street through Market Square to the cemetery for the services. The Veterans Day itself is on Monday, May 31st, and we would hope that all of the veterans in the city, as well as all of those who have enjoyed the parades in the past, will attend.
Thank you, John. Did I get a second on that? Is that a motion, John?
That's a motion.
Okay, very good. That's a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? I hope all of the new councilors as well as the old councilors attend, because it's quite a grand thing that they do for our fallen soldiers. All right, now we're down to a letter from John Donahue requesting upgrades to the basketball courts at the Lafayette Playground. I'm going to pass this to Councilor Pandalakis. She is on the Recreation Board.
I believe that I would ask that perhaps the city manager would write a letter to them stating what we are going to do in the future.
Sure, and if I might, Your Honor.
Yes,
we are reviewing this matter. We will be replacing the backboards out at that location and the rims. One of the things that we are being very cognizant of is that at some point there may be some reuse of that facility. So what we'll be doing is we'll probably be spending about $1,500, which we have budgeted, to make those upgrades. And I will be letting them know that.
is it? Was that in the form of a
Yes,
motion?
move to city manager with power.
All right, did I get a second?
Second.
All right, all ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Now we're down to a letter from Robert and Mary Lou McKelvin requesting that the city council establish term limits for boards and commission. Before we get into this with the motion, I would like to refer this to Attorney Sullivan so he can explain to you just what we can do.
Well, Your Honor, each of the different boards and commissions has to be looked at separately in determining the level of authority which the City Council has to determine term limits. It is possible that in some cases that either ordinances, state law, or the municipal charter might have to be changed, in fact, to change term limits. Because the next letter after this one referred to the Historic District Commission, I looked at that question specifically, and it turns out that under state law, the City Council itself is given tremendous authority, scope of authority with regard to the Historic District Commission. And if the council wished to adopt an ordinance which would create term limits for Historic District Commission members, the council could do so.
Thank you, Bob. Would somebody like to speak on this, make a motion? Yes.
Well, is there a motion on the floor?
No.
I don't know what the appropriate venue would be for review of this matter. I cannot think of a standing, quote-unquote, government committee that would review this. An ad hoc committee of some sort, perhaps. I have very specific views on the issue, but I don't think it's something we should, decide upon lightly. I personally don't favor term limits, but I do favor new blood. Well, Your Honor, may I respond?
Yes.
The Historic District Commission provisions are contained in our zoning ordinance. Zoning ordinance amendments are required by other ordinances to be referred to the planning board for review and consideration. Therefore, it strikes me that it would be appropriate for the planning board to consider the issue, since they would have to offer input to the city council in order to adopt term limits.
Could I get a second on this before we go any further?
I'll second
Very
that.
good. John?
But I'd like to speak to it further in the sense
What was
that...
the motion there, to refer to the planning board for a report back? Is that the intent?
Who made
Well,
the
I'll make a motion. We'll refer with respect to the issue of the Historic District Commission, could we refer it to the planning board for a report back?
Very good. Second. All right. John?
In discussion, it seems to me that given that there are a variety of committees that have different requirements, as Attorney Sullivan has indicated, then there isn't a blanket answer for each. And this is something that has come up in requests to me by constituents. I will say again, I'm not a fan of term limits, but I do favor new blood. And there are already terms limiting in the sense that they're required to be reappointed in order to serve again. And I don't know if it's maybe appropriate to, besides just the report back on the planning board HDC issue, to somehow look at this in a broader sense. I know many of us who have been elected to city council have perhaps done so in part because they've gotten to know how things work by being on city committees. And I think that's a good thing as we go forward in the future to get more and more people involved. And so I would just respectfully ask the mayor to consider at some juncture perhaps another way to view this in a more comprehensive way, not just specifically with regard to the planning board.
Very good. Councilor Hines, then Councilor Reynos, and then Councilor Whitehouse.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would not support an ordinance that would mandatorily remove people from a board on any specific number of years of service. There are people who have served a great number of years and served very well. The judgment of the mayor and this city council, or any city council, determines whether or not a member of any board has served the city well or not well. And those judgments then can determine whether he is renewed or perhaps replaced. And I think that system has worked quite well for the city, and I would continue that if I were to vote that way.
Ned?
I think that the issue raised, the issue of sort of time and tenure on all the various boards and commissions that the city has, the issue raised by these two letters is a legitimate one. As at least one of the letters points out, all of these positions are not elected. They're obviously appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the council. And, apparently the practice has been for people serve well, attend meetings, are reasonably contributing members of their respective board, that they tend to be reappointed. And that's good, I think. Obviously, there's a lot of value to people to experience and institutional memory, and obviously some boards like planning board and other things that are pretty technical, it can take some considerable time to get the experience, the expertise to really do the job well. On the other hand, as Councilor Farini mentioned, there's also virtue in new blood every now and then on any body, I think, board, commission, committee. And so clearly there's a balance to be struck between time and tenure and experience and, adding new perspectives and a chance for new people to contribute. City of Portsmouth is blessed with many talented, highly experienced, educated people who could serve on boards and commissions and could contribute very well. So, and I would also suggest that what Councilor Hines said about discretion, it's obviously to the discretion of the mayor and council whether or not to reappoint someone, but on the other hand, that can be sort of a difficult judgment sometimes to make publicly, I think, to sort of, discretion, at discretion to declare that somebody, maybe it's time to be replaced and somebody else gets to be reappointed. So I think we should give this issue some serious consideration. I'm not sure if it's appropriate now to make another motion, but if it isn't now, I'd like a chance to make another one that we refer this issue jointly to the city clerk. I would appreciate having a list of, taking the list of current boards and commissions and the memberships and having it annotated to show how long each member has been serving, what's the tenure of all the various members, how long each has been serving. And the other part of it would be, I would wonder if the city attorney, having mentioned what he said about the different enabling ordinances and statutes for the boards, could provide a report as to, which, for each board and commission, what is the enabling statute or ordinance, and, what would the power be to deal with the issue of tenure.
Councilor Whitehouse, and
Yes.
then City Manager.
Just very briefly, Your Honor, tell me, Your Honor, do you have many applicants on file for these land regulatory boards? Do you have many applicants on file?
Do I have?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Harold. I was down this way.
Are there people
I have quite a few people that come in. Yes.
waiting to be appointed?
How I do that,
Yeah.
as you all know, is I present the application that we have a vacancy for,
Yeah.
and give it to the councilors at a council meeting for consideration. And then I say to each one, if you have any problems, come up and see me. And then it comes back to the councilors at our following meeting.
So there is interest out there to
There
serve.
is interest. We're very lucky in this city. We have a wonderful volunteer crowd.
Well, it never fails. This comes up about every 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And each time we bring it up, we talk about how important seniority is on these land regulatory boards because of experience. And that means an awful lot. Now, I'm not saying they're on forever, but each time we review these applicants and each time we review these land regulatory boards, that issue comes up, experience and longevity, but maybe there is a time for a change, but I would never support an ordinance that would allow a change to take place. Term limits. I'd never support an ordinance. That's how I feel.
John, you got to wait. Councilor Hanson, and then Councilor Grasso.
Thank you.
Assistant Mayor. Oh, I'm
Thank you, Madam
so
Mayor.
sorry.
I'd like to amend the motion and to place this item on file. We already have term limits, and it's for those that are appointed, and the council decides. If you look, you'll see that when their terms expire. And we already have the term limits, so now it's in our laps, and I think it's wrong to give one little committee or one large committee to the planning board without dealing with the whole issue. So I think it's rested on our shoulders. We've had a great discussion on it, and next time we have an appointment, ask the questions, how many applicants do we have when you have them in for consideration. Now, I can tell you, not all committees get a lot of people that volunteer to do it. And then we get the volunteers that want to do it, so they sign up and they don't attend meetings. So it's tough. We had a traffic and safety opening. We got one applicant, a very, very good applicant, but that was it. And we announced it a couple of times here. We had it on the board. It was on, we're seeking, and it's a lot of time and dedication. So we already have the term limits. And if you want to consider whether it's 2 years or, is it time for somebody to come off on it? It's in your laps because you vote on it. You put your hand up.
I'd like to second his amendment, which is to
Place on file.
place on file.
Place on file.
Your Honor, I'd like to say that almost all these boards have alternates, so that should you appoint somebody new, they're not going to be on that board right away because the alternates will have a chance to go from a position of being an alternate to being a full-time or regular member. And the reason for that is that a lot of these boards, as Councilor Whitehouse said, deal with a lot of expertise. And I speak from being on the Historic District Committee. Our chair and vice chair are sought after by surrounding communities to come and speak to them as to how our commission works, because they want to set up something that's just as effective in their own community. And this isn't something that you learn over a year or two, and I should know I've been there since I've been on the council. And it's a difficult, and speaking of the HEC, it's a difficult commission to be on because we have a lot of the charm of the city rests within the decisions made by that board. But I just wanted to stress the fact that should you replace everybody, the alternates would get the chance to be the full members first.
Councilor Marchand?
Thank you. I want to first echo the sentiments of Alex and Joanne that I think that there is a sort of term limit now, and it is the ability of the members of the city council to decide up or down on whether there are people looking to do it again or new people trying to get on. But that goes to the second part, and that is there are different kinds of expertise. Some you can only get from doing this for a while, and some can come from outside experience, which may be new to that committee, but which may be very much a veteran in non-committee ways. Certainly in some committees that a certain professional expertise may be critical. So I don't know that a term limit addresses trying to get that second type of experience in. And I oppose term limits in general because, as I said, we already have them in different ways. But I would hope that whatever comes back, that we are looking for a way. I'm not sure that applying a term limit in a statutory way is going to do much to solve what I think would be the ultimate solution, and that is let's find a way to get new people with the various kinds of expertise outside of committee into these committees. I think that's something we could do a better job of, shine more sunshine on the qualifications of the people that are trying to get on, and let's find a way to get them on.
Thank you, Steve. Councilor Pandalakis, and then we go to our city manager.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to suggest that maybe that we could set up some type of a subcommittee here on this so that people could hear from the public. Not a lot of people out there know that there's openings on these boards. There's a lot of people out there that feel as though that people have been on there for 15, 20 years, or how long have they been on there. They feel as though they own the board and they make decisions on their own, which they don't, but it gives an out for a subcommittee or something for the people out there to come in and give their viewpoints of how they feel about these boards people being on these boards as long as, you might not have anybody show up. You might have a whole room full. But I think we need to hear John True public out there, how they feel about these boards.
City Manager John?
Thank you, Your Honor. The only thing I was going to say is that in echoing actually both of all what the council members have said, I don't believe this is an area where it should be referred to the planning board. I think it's more of a policy issue, and so the issue is being addressed right now with the motion to place on file. But I think it needs to stay with the city council no matter what you do. So that's all I really wanted to say about it as a policy issue and not referring it to the planning board.
We ready for the vote?
Well, I
Yes,
withdraw my
John.
motion. I certainly wanted to say that I approve of the way the discussion has come out, but I wanted to add that I think extensive and more overt political outreach to people in the community for committee membership is in our best interest.
Right, very good. You all ready for the vote then? What was that?
Alex's motion.
Alex's motion is to
amend.
to place this item on file, because now Councilor Freeney has withdrawn the original motion.
Okay, very good. Everyone understand that? Okay, you ready for the vote? What's the matter now?
Question, are we taking any other action in placing it on file?
No, that's the only motion on the floor.
This letter.
Yeah.
All we're doing with this letter,
Two letters.
or 2 letters.
2 letters, yeah. Councilor Panalakis?
Is it in order after we vote on this, placing these 2 letters on file, to make a motion to set up a subcommittee?
Well, you can do whatever you want if it passes. If it passes, we got so many subcommittees right now.
I think maybe we pass this, and maybe your motion would be to hold a public hearing, advertise it, and open it up for discussion for the public.
Okay, I'll buy that.
Okay, very good. Then are we all ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. I'm going to stop right here.
We're going to make a motion to have a public hearing in the future.
Make a
Second.
motion.
I would like to make a motion to have a public hearing in the future on the issue of limits on terms that we read in this letter, or just to get the people's viewpoints on our commissions and boards.
Is that a time certain?
Do it after the budget?
We're pretty busy right now.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Did I get a second?
Second?
Councilor Freeney did.
Oh, okay, we already got one from Tom.
I note that Councilor Panalakis mentions that it would include consideration. I presume she means include consideration of term limits, but the general process is what.
I didn't mean to put the word term limits in. It
Just
got away
curious.
from me.
John?
Your Honor,
I'm going to go on and on.
we've kicked this thing around for about, 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
We pretty much all came to the same conclusion that this city council and any city council that sits here has the capability and the authority of the public by being elected to make the decision as to whether or not a person who volunteers will serve on a board and serve the city well. That's the issue, and I think that we ought to table it.
Councilor Panalakis?
The fact of the matter is that we're not going to make any decisions over this meeting, public hearing we have. We're going to get the viewpoints of the people out there, how our boards are treating them, how they feel as though that the work is being done, and not make an issue of term limits or anything else. We're just going to get the public viewpoint, and we need that because there is a lot of controversy out there, and it might be only a few people that have it. We need to have a public hearing and see how many people show up.
Ned, and then you realize, councilors, that we're doing both letters with that motion. Okay, very good. Ned?
Yeah, I agree with Councilor Panalakis. I think that I hear a lot of discussion among people about the question about boards and commissions, and I think it's always worth inviting more input from the public on a topic like this. So I hope that
Are we all ready for the vote? Yes.
colleagues will support the
Yes, sir.
motion.
I just have to say that I think sometimes the comments I heard are in proportion to how a petition has been voted on. Because if the people come to a certain board and their petition is granted, then they feel great about it. And if it's rejected for some reason or another, then you're going to hear all kinds of comments. The people not always knowing what goes into the decisions made by these groups. So I think we have to be very careful. Although it's good to hear from the public, I think we have to be very careful how we go about handling the information that we hear.
Roll call vote, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Our city clerk is going to read the motion again.
Certainly. It is to hold a public hearing in the future on this matter.
Roll call vote, Your Honor.
Roll call vote. Roll call vote.
Assistant Mayor Hansen?
Yes.
Councilor Grasso?
Yes.
Councilor Farini?
Yes.
Councilor Marchand?
Yes?
Councilor Penelakis?
Yes.
Councilor Hines?
Yes.
Councilor Reynolds?
Yes.
Councilor Whitehouse?
Yes.
Mayor Sorrell?
Yes.
Unanimous.
Now, I'm going to pass this over for a short minute for Councilor Marchand to introduce the guests that have just appeared to us here.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and on behalf of the entire City Council and the Mayor and others here, wanted to introduce a fantastic group we have here from the country of Macedonia, a high-ranking group from across the Atlantic who's here for about 4 or 5 days, and then they'll be going to Washington, D.C. for the remainder of the week.
Could I have a
Oh, yeah, actually, if that would be okay, as long as we'll keep it brief.
Sure.
That would
Right.
be fantastic. Perhaps maybe up there.
Добро, значи ви посакувам добри ден на нашата група од преку Атлантикот, од земја Македонија, една група од високи гости.
Thank you. And this is part of a project of the Partnership for Peace program between, in this case, the United States and the country of Macedonia.
Ова е дел од проектот од партнирството за мир од соработката меѓу Соединетите Американски држави и Република Македонија.
And this is one of many experiences that is ongoing, where we're really building relationships and exchanging information about the ways of governance and the cultures of the United States and other nations around the world.
Ова е едно од многуте искуства кои што ги собираме во соработката на Соединетите Американски држави со државите од светот, во случајот со Македонија. Соработуваме, разменуваме информации, податоци, разменуваме обичаи, традиции.
As I was saying, this is really one of our highest-ranking delegations that we've had in the history of the program in this area, and it's really an honor and a pleasure to have them here on the Seacoast tonight. They're a fantastic group.
Како што кажав, ова е највисоката по ранг делегација која што имаме во оваа програма. Како што ще еднаш да кажам, се работи за една фантастична група.
And the final thing is, as part of an emergency management program, that's the primary reason that this program is in existence, to show how we can improve on both sides the way that we handle emergency management situations.
Целта на оваа посета е видување за планирањето во вонредните ситуации, но не само да им дадеме ние информации за нашиот систем, туку и воопшто да размениме информации за да можеме да го подобриме планирањето во вонредни ситуации.
And understanding how local government works here in the United States. And this is certainly
разбирањето како
local.
локалните власти функционираат во Соединетите Американски држави и ова е всушност градскиот совет, значи локално.
Is an important part of understanding how the entire system works in this country.
Како многу битен дел од разбирање како целиот систем функционира во оваа држава.
So again, thank you very much for coming, and thank the council and you, Mayor, for having them come in for a few
If
minutes.
they're going to be here for any length of time, I'd love to extend an invitation to them to come to the mayor's office.
Јас би сакала ако имаат време да ги поканам во мојата канцеларија.
Very good.
Very good.
I just would, if they can, you're going to have to let me know, a little ahead of time.
Well, absolutely. They're here they're in New Hampshire and just here on the way home sort of thing.
Oh,
so
I
it's just
see.
for a brief time this evening, just to say hello
Yes.
and see local government in action.
Good, wonderful.
Значи би сакала да ме информирате однапред ако можат да дојдат, а тој објасни дека сме само на поминување и дека сме сместени во Нью Хемпшир.
Thank you all so very much for coming. We appreciate it.
Ви благодарам на сите што дојдовте, многу го цениме тоа. Respected Mayor, I'm the leader of the delegation from Macedonia. I work for the government of the Republic of Macedonia. And most of the representatives present here are from the Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of Interior. Assistant Minister of Defense and advisors to the Minister. As you might already know, Republic of Macedonia has 2 million, population of 2 million, and your state has a similar figure. Within this program, the state of New Hampshire and the Civil Emergency Planning has provided for us exchange of information and experience and finding out how all the system functions here, including the visit of your council at the moment. And thank you very much for providing us with that. I hope we didn't interfere in your work today. We wish you a successful work. And I think this will not be our last time to meet in this sphere. We have a very tense program, so we will leave you now to continue with your regular work. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming.
Madam Mayor, I thank you and the council for your hospitality, as always.
Quite welcome. Now we're down to a letter from Police Chief Magnet requesting that the City Hall flag be flown at half-staff in recognition of the Peace Officers Memorial Day on Saturday, May 15th, 2004.
Move the city manager with power.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. A letter from Attorney Malcolm McNeil regarding a proposed rezoning of the Portsmouth Circle Business Center.
Your Honor,
Yes, Councilor.
refer this
White.
to the planning board or report back.
Second.
Okay, discussion. You all ready for a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. Now we are down to the city manager, and John has 5 items that require action.
Thank you, Your Honor. The first item that I have is 2 poll licenses, 63404 and 63405. Basically, they are licenses that allow us to reconfigure a couple poles and take out 2 large tree stumps. I have attached photographs so you can see what they will be replacing. This comes recommended from the Public Works Department, and I would recommend that in accordance with the Public Works Department's review, that you approve the request from PSNH for both pole license agreements 63404 and 63405.
So move. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed.
Thank you, Your Honor. The next item is a request for the City Council to authorize me to proceed with the Pierce Estate Recreational Environmental Trust in the form that has been presented to you by the City Attorney's Office.
Once the trust has been established, the next step in resolving the issues created by past incursions onto the property of Parrott Avenue restricted by the Pierce Estate will be to retain an independent appraiser to place value on the incursions. With the agreement, the charitable trust units, and the approval of the appropriate court, that sum may then be paid into the trust to resolve any outstanding issues.
So moved.
Second. Your Honor, I'd like to just have it reaffirmed that we do not need any of this Pierce Estate to build the city library, that the city library will be built on city-owned property. This is to deal with other issues that we'd have to deal with, whether the library went up or not.
Your Honor, if I might, the incursions are dealing with the incursions that occurred with the middle school, as well as the incursion into the existing parking lot adjacent to the JFK. I'll defer to the city attorney to give a brief synopsis as to the document that you will be acting on tonight.
The document that we're acting on tonight will create a repository or a place for money to go when the city makes payments, which it is going to be required to be made by the State Attorney General's office, primarily for the expansion which occurred in the 1970s of the middle school gymnasium into the Pierce Estate restricted properties. This actually has nothing to do with the public library, either existing or proposed. If the council passes the motion, then after the trustees and the city manager have signed this document, we will have a trust, and it will be held by the trustees of trust funds, as all our trusts must be held under the charter. The trust will not be funded at that point in time. The next step after creation of the trust will be that the city will hire an outside independent appraiser who will place a value on the incursions which have occurred, as I say, primarily in the middle school. With the agreement of the Director of Charitable Trust of the Attorney General's office, that amount of money will then be paid into this trust to resolve that problem that was created in the 1970s. There will be other documents associated with this, probably a subdivision plan, certainly a deed, which will be properly approved and recorded. The process will take some time, but ultimately, by creating the trust, hiring the appraiser, paying the money, we can solve any problems that currently exist with regard to incursions into the Pierce Estate Trust. That is the sum total of what we're dealing with right now.
All right, are we all ready for the vote?
No,
I would just like to.
I would like to ask.
Councilor Hines, I've called on him. Yes, Councilor.
Thank you. I just want, if in fact the amount of money that is required to place in trust, I presume that we probably could win approval to do that over a number of years.
Thus far, with regard to dealing with these issues, we have had a very cooperative and cordial relationship with the Attorney General's office. It would certainly be my intention to try and maintain that going forward. Therefore, every step that we take, including establishment of values, determination of what are the actual incursions, we would hope to do by reaching agreements with the Attorney General's office and then fulfilling those agreements. Right now, we have agreement on the terms of the trust, and that's really as far as we have it at the moment.
Councilor Whitehouse?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you for allowing me to talk on this issue.
I really didn't want to.
I know you didn't, Your Honor. You're so kind to me. Your Honor, I can't see how anybody could vote for this. This is a really sensitive issue. Here we are breaking a land trust that was given to us by the Pierce Estate, and I think this is terrible. What message are we sending out there to people who want to leave land to us in a trust in the future? One person called me and said, in other words, a trust is similar to a bowl of jelly in a hot, windy day. So just think that over. You know, we don't know how much money this is going to involve in purchasing at the market value, and I'd like to go back to the 70s when
Harold, we're not going way, way back,
Well,
please.
I have a folder here, and I think you'd be very much interested in really what happened.
The incursion happened 30
Your
years
Honor,
ago.
This is 1975. Here's a folder that will document and give you some very important information.
Very good, but we're not going to get into
okay,
that
Your
all
Honor.
tonight.
All right,
please.
Your Honor. But I'm
yes,
just
John.
saying, I think it's terrible that
All right.
we
You've
are going
told
this
us
way.
enough times, Harold, okay?
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you very much.
Councilor Bill
I appreciate it.
John,
I
you're
think-
quite welcome.
I think, Your Honor, I think there really has to be some clarification. There's been a lot of misinformation thrown around on this issue. This, no matter if the library is built, and I don't know how many times we have to say this, and I understand Councilor Whitehouse is posturing on the situation based on his position, but the fact of the matter remains is that we have to do something. If the library does not exist, the issue was brought up as a result of people challenging the library location, and as a result of that, the city did a full survey on the site. When the middle school was expanded in 1975 and Councilor Whitehouse was on that committee, what happened is they did not do a survey. They did not do a full-blown survey. So unless... Yes, we did. Excuse me, Councilor?
We did.
Okay. Well, we have never been able to find one on record. But be that as it may, the fact is that the incursion took place as a result of what happened with the issue of the library. Then the Attorney General's office got involved, Terry Knowles. So as a result of them getting involved, they found that the middle school's gymnasium incurred into the Pierce Trust, along with the parking lot for the middle school. What this does is to resolve that issue, to eliminate that restriction just on the middle school. And I would defer back to the city attorney to reiterate that point. If we do nothing, I suspect the Attorney General's office will want to see us either, I guess, Bob, I would refer to you for what remedies. I suspect it would be to close off the parking lot.
Or demolish a portion of the middle school gymnasium.
But, so those obviously are not reasonable ways to proceed. And the reasonable way to proceed is to develop this trust, which any money that is derived, that has to go into this trust, would then be administered by the trustees of the trust, with the city council determining how that money is appropriated for recreational and/or environmental purposes. So the money is technically taking it from one pocket to the next, but also to be used for certain programs within the city. We believe this is the best way to deal with this issue, given that this matter has been brought forward and has to be resolved one way or another. It doesn't have anything to do with the library, and it's unfortunate that it's characterized that way.
Your Honor.
Councilor Hines and then Councilor Pandalakis.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm very happy that I live in a democracy where the majority rule, and on occasion, the majority choose for the greater good of the city and the people in the city to make certain moves which violate an agreement that was made 100 years ago or whatever number of years ago when it appeared that it was the best thing, the greater good of the city, to commit a piece of land. Today, it's possible that that greater good can be achieved by doing what we are trying to do right now. And the minority, having lost the issue, have a voice, and we treasure that voice, and it should be put somewhere else once the issue has been determined. I don't see extending any argument beyond the point where it comes to a vote, and whatever the vote is, the majority wins, and that's the democratic way.
Councilor Pandalakis, since you made the motion, I'm going to request that you have a roll call vote, if you would.
I just would like to ask the city attorney a question and the city manager. Does this issue not have to be resolved before we can do any renovations on the school or anything else, as far as the middle school is concerned?
This question has to be resolved, absolutely, regardless, frankly, of whether you do renovations to the middle school, regardless of whether a new library ever gets built anywhere. This is a problem that we have now with the state of New Hampshire that needs to be addressed.
And it definitely has nothing to do with library property.
Absolutely not.
No, not a bit. Councilor Marchand?
Just to, I believe, reiterate what was said several minutes ago, I believe that there are only two ways to resolve this issue. One would be to either create a trust akin to what we're discussing tonight, or to blow up part of the middle school. Is that about right?
That's about right.
All right. As somebody as a city council representative on the middle school committee, let me be on the record to be against blowing up part of the middle school. And for this, and anybody who I assume would be against this must be for blowing up part of the middle school. I guess I just want to make it clear where I stand on that.
Thank you very
Thank
much, Steve. We're all ready for the vote.
Your Honor,
We're all ready for the
Your Honor,
vote.
a piece of information that's very vital to this committee, this council, before you vote.
Carol,
Let me tell you what happened in
out
19...
there realize that you were on the board then.
Your Honor, of course, and I'm going to explain to you what came down from legal in reference to adding on to the gym. In the estate, it said that must be left as open park and recreation forever. We encroached upon 12 to 14 feet. We knew what we was doing, but it was a gymnasium. So that came down from legal, and I have document proof. So, don't say that this
All right,
joint...
we're not going to
Your
go
Honor.
into a shouting contest. We are going to call for a roll call vote, right?
I'd like a roll call vote.
Very good.
Madam Mayor, parliamentary inquiry. Could I ask that this mysterious file be turned over to the city attorney and the city manager for their review, and I'm going to vote for this, and if they see anything in there that's upsetting to this documentation that would change anything, then they'd come back to us. Thank you.
The only document I have, Your Honor, is the document that came down from legal saying that the architect could encroach upon the 12-foot line area. But talking to another joint building committee member, there's only out of 9, there's only 3 left, 3 living, and I talked to this other gentleman that's on that joint building committee, and he agrees with me. That was the understanding. We would encroach upon that line. Back in 1975, we had a tremendous student.
Your Honor, personal privilege here. Harold, regardless of what happened 30 years ago, we need to vote on what's before us tonight. So I really would like to go ahead and allow Councilor Pantelakis to have a motion voted on.
And I am calling right now for a roll call vote.
I did.
All right.
Are you listening to me?
Very good.
Okay.
All set? All set.
Assistant Mayor Hanson?
Yes.
Councilor Grasso?
Yes.
Councilor Farini?
Yes.
Councilor Marchand?
Yes.
Councilor Pantelakis?
Yes.
Councilor Hines?
Yes.
Councilor Reynolds?
Yes.
Councilor Whitehouse?
No.
Mayor Sorrell?
Yes.
8-1 passes.
Always is, 8-1.
My understanding is Councilor Whitehouse is going to turn over a file to the city attorney.
I've got files right here. They'll be passed right on to him. I want those back. They're all documented. They date back to 1975, which is 30 years.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, John. Number 3.
Thank you, Your Honor. The next item deals with a proposed temporary license agreement with Jimbro Corporation regarding the use of city-owned property in the Memorial Bridge area for construction staging. This license agreement is for approximately 6 weeks from April 12, 2004 through May 31st, 2004. Jimbro has agreed to pay the city $1,500 for the use of the right-of-way. If they go beyond the May 31st deadline, then they will be charged $100 per day. I've attached, for your information, an aerial map that shows the location of the right-of-way. For your information, this is a contractor that's doing work for the state for the emergency improvements to the Memorial Bridge.
So moved as stated.
Second.
All in favor? Aye, all opposed.
Thank you, Your Honor. The next item deals with a proposed amendment to the 1995 zoning ordinance requiring non-residential uses in ground floor areas within the Central Business District A and B. What I am requesting tonight is that you allow me to bring back for first reading some of the recommendations from the planning board through the master plan process. Also, some of these suggestions came through the study circle process. But before we go through and do these informal ordinance form, what I wanted to do is just make sure that the City Council wanted me to bring these for first reading to start the discussion on this matter. There was a tremendous amount of input given, as I said, through the study circle process as well as through the master plan process. This issue deals with first floor residential units in the Central Business District A and B.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Assistant Mayor.
I move that we have a work session on this before we do that. We haven't seen the draft master plan. We've addressed this issue once before. And when you do A and B, and the result was the council looked at it before and we voted it down. But you also are including Daniel Street, you're including State Street that's got residential units. For instance, Porter Street that just went in. So what we're doing is telling a property owner, you've got to keep it commercial. It was market driven. In other words, if office space was going down, you could have residential. They have that flexibility today. So I know there's been some input and some discussion at the planning board in the study circle, but we haven't looked at the city in entirety. If they're trying to look at the Congress Street block, that's a separate issue. But if you're trying to look at Daniel Street, then there were some very strong opinions from the property owners. So I think that we're starting to get stuff from a master plan that we haven't seen. We haven't seen the draft yet. So it's a master plan process, but when we get the master plan, I think we're going to be looking at this whole thing in different sections of the city. And there's going to be a lot of ordinance changes. So I don't want to target out without more information. And I've gotten calls on this already on my answering machine when I just got home and I've been gone for a while. And this issue is riling up the property owners, and they think that we're taking their property.
Well, I don't, Your Honor, if I might, that wasn't the suggestion. I mean, what we've done through the master plan process is we've gone through a very public discussion on this matter. There was a tremendous amount of work done by the study circles, which included a number of people, over 300 people that were involved. In addition, there were public hearings that have been held by the planning board. Also, there has been surveys done regarding this issue. Clearly, that's why I'm bringing it before you tonight, to discuss this matter and to feel that we need to at least put this on the table because there was so much discussion on it. Now, if the City Council wants to have a work session, that's not a problem. I just think that it's something that we need to respond to as a result of what we've heard over the last few months. One of the things I will be suggesting, and probably is timely to bring it up now, Your Honor, is that we would be looking to try to have a joint work session with the Planning Board on June 14th. So that we can get into these issues because they are moving down the road with the master plan. And the city master plan is by statute approved by the planning board. This is an integral part of that master plan. And probably if we're going to have a work session, the sooner the better on that rather than waiting on that.
It could be part of that June, what's that? It could be part of that June 14th.
Well, then what I would do, Your Honor, and if it's appropriate, I would recommend that the City Council have a work session with the Planning Board on June 14th, and this be part of the discussion.
Tom?
I guess what I would say, Your Honor, is that I would partially respectfully disagree with fellow Councilor Hanson and say that I think it probably makes sense to have it go to a work session, but if the concern is public input, I don't think that's where we get it. So I don't see why having it go to first reading and then giving the public an opportunity to speak to it is at cross purposes with moving forward on the equal track of perhaps having a work session at the same time. I don't know why one has to be exclusive of the other.
Councilor Whitehouse?
Yes, Your Honor. A question to our city manager, please. May I?
John? Yes.
Now, listen, what difference is this compared with what was brought before this previous council, from the planning department about 2 years ago? A proposal that was shot down very closely.
Well,
it was a 5-4 vote.
I think a couple of things. I think we've heard a lot from the public. I think we've had our master plan consultant working with the planning board regarding this issue. There are a tremendous amount of pressures that are on our central business district. It's in a delicate balance right now, and that's what we're trying to deal with.
But the proposed change and the suggestion from the planning board back there 2 years ago is basically the same.
If you want, Your Honor, I can have Dave Holden come down and we can get into this and discuss this if you'd like. I can go point by point.
Let's do it at the work session. Yeah. We can have more information.
It's up to you, Your Honor. I need to know if you want me to answer Councilor Whitehouse's question or.
I think we should have a work session.
Work session. All right.
Work session.
Well, Your Honor, I don't want to leave it that way. Councilor Whitehouse seems to be.
From my own curiosity, I'd like to know what is the difference. What was proposed 2 years ago from the planning board and what we're proposing now.
Well, last time I looked,
think.
Mayor, if I may, we've had significant public process since then, and so in a functioning democratic process, we allow people an opportunity to speak and offer their views, and we collect information, and that's what we've done. So there's probably a little bit of a difference between what happened the last time and what seems to be going forward at this point in time.
Can you, Your Honor, Dave, can you do it in like 2 minutes and give us a synopsis of it, and then we'll deal with it?
Because we spent a lot of time.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this ordinance is somewhat the same in its thrust, but it's actually crafted quite differently. I think part of the issues with the previous one was it was rather complex. It had to cover a lot of situations. We've taken an opportunity, basically with the study circles and others that were working on it, to take another look at how the ordinance was crafted, and this one is different. For example, it doesn't encourage parking or breaks in the streets. And I think it's a much improved version over the original.
Okay, thank you, Dave. That's all I wanted to know.
So, Your Honor, what I would suggest is that if the council wants, that we can have a work session on June 14th, and this will be a major item of that discussion within the master plan. Or you can proceed to first reading on May 17th, but the idea would be to at least get first reading done and then schedule a work session as well.
My motion was to schedule this for a work session in June 14th.
That's fine.
June 14th? Any discussion on that?
Yes. Is it possible to, I don't know that he won't allow the amendment, but I would like it to also be on the work session for June 14th, but I do not see why it cannot be moved to first reading at the same time.
Okay.
And so I don't know if you need to vote on the amendment.
There is no amendment.
Well,
that's a motion.
I've made a motion for an amendment, and I've received no second. But my motion is to still move it to first reading, still go to the work session as suggested by Councilor Hansen's motion, but in the interest of moving it forward, I am suggesting we move it to first reading. That's my amendment.
I'll second that amendment.
All right. So now, Attorney, where do we go from here?
I think you have to vote on the amendment.
On the amendment
first.
Okay. And I have a second on the amendment?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye. Roll call.
A roll call?
Okay, this is on the amendment.
First reading.
Why don't you read the amendment? Just so some of
To allow first reading to be held on May 17th and hold a work session on June 14th with the planning board.
I think to do this would be getting the cart before the horse, Madam Mayor. I think the purpose of the work session is so we understand it better before we propose the ordinance. That's the way we used to do it. But
that's right.
Roll call.
For the roll call? Okay. Assistant Mayor Hansen?
No.
Councilor Grasso?
No.
Councilor Farini?
Yes.
Councilor Marchand?
Yes.
Councilor Panalakis?
Yes.
Councilor Hines?
Yes.
Councilor Reynolds?
Yes.
Councilor Whitehouse?
No.
Mayor Sorrell?
Yes.
6-3 passes.
Your Honor, I'd like to suggest that since we're going that past, and evidently we will be having a work session on the 14th, that we not have the public hearing until after the work session, because I really need to hear what the planning department has to say before we have the public hearing, so we need to get all the information that we can. That was my concern about having the first reading on the 17th. I really want to get the work session to the council first before a public hearing.
Very good. All right. So now where am
Question, Your Honor?
I? Yes, Ned.
Is a first reading normally accompanied by a public hearing?
Second reading.
Second reading has a public hearing.
We voted on
So,
the amendment.
what we're doing is having the first reading on the next May meeting.
May 17th.
And the public hearing on the 17th of June.
The
right?
city clerk
work
will...
session, work
no,
session.
Work session on June 14th.
Yeah, let city clerk read.
The motion that passed by, the amendment that passed by Councilor Farini was to allow for first reading on May 17th and to hold a work session on June 14th with the planning board, and that passed on a 6-3 roll call vote.
Can I ask another question? Do we have to have that public hearing at the next council meeting?
In what I hear in the discussion, Your Honor, if I might, when I come back on the 17th, what I'll do is I will recommend a public hearing subsequent to the work session. Okay? And then, if there are any amendments, then the City Council can agree to those, and amendments can be made to the ordinance at second reading.
Could we also ask that Dave Holden give us a synopsis of the difference between the one that we looked at before and this one?
Sure, we will do that on, you want that at the work session or on
That's
the
fine.
first reading?
No, well, whenever you can get it together.
How about if we do it for the work session? That
Okay.
probably would be the best way to deal with it.
Whatever's easier for them.
Okay.
Bob, is everything...
Yes, Your Honor, if the motion passes, it can go forward the way that's been outlined. It is a bit unorthodox, but I think it works.
Okay.
It passed in a 6-3 roll call.
It did
So we're all
pass
set?
on a
All right.
6-3. Yeah, so we're all set. Okay. John, it's in your court.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Next item is request for various easements. There are two easements. They're just housekeeping issues. An easement from Tyrock Realty. Easement Tyrock is developing property at 480 State Street. As part of the development, Tyrock is deeding to the city certain sidewalk and utility easements. Land use approvals have been obtained, and I attached a map for your review. I would recommend the City Council authorize the city manager to accept an easement from Tyrock Realty for sidewalks and utilities.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
The next item, Your Honor, deals with Ocean National Bank easement. Ocean National Bank is developing property at 325 State Street. As part of the development, Ocean National Bank is deeding to the city certain sidewalk easements. Land use approvals have been obtained, and I've again attached a map for your location. I would recommend the City Council authorize the city manager to accept an easement from Ocean National Bank for sidewalks.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. One abstention?
One abstention.
Madam Mayor, are you finished, John?
Sure, yeah.
I just wanted to, before the city manager is done, is there something we can do on for the 5th or 20th on the final budget review?
I've already got that down here.
Okay.
And I was going to ask him when we got down there.
Yeah, because it's future dinner.
Yeah, right. John, under the budget work sessions, May 20th is your final budget review. And there are a few councilors, quite a few councilors that can't make it because it's the big future dinner.
I typically go to that as well.
Okay. The other one is May 12th. I will be late for the work session on the municipal budget, but I shouldn't be late by more than an hour, so the assistant mayor, I know, can take it over for me.
Hopefully, there won't be a need for the May 20th meeting, but if there is, then maybe what we ought to do is set that at your
Let me think. How would you like to do that? Do you want to set it at the municipal, after the municipal, on the 12th? Maybe try to establish date. If we think we need subsequent meetings to the public hearing, we can even do that at the 17th if you'd like. So, and give some thought to when you'd like to meet after that. You do have till the end of June to adopt the budget. But you do have till June 30th, and that's the deadline.
Sounds good.
So if I understand this correctly, I will be canceling the May 20th for potential rescheduling.
Right, very good. Any other questions of John on the informational? Or I guess we're all set. Thank you very much, John.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Now we're down to the mayor. I have just a few things. The first one is an appointment to the Pierce Island, and this is just consideration tonight. Pierce Island Committee for Jeffrey Levine, and I hope you'll all take the time to read his resume. It's great. It's really great. This will come back to you at the next council meeting. All right? Let's see. What else have we got here? I received a letter from Hugh Jenks regarding the Pierce Island Committee, and there was kind of a little mix-up when the change of command took place with the new councilors, and some of the mailing went in the opposite direction, but that's all taken care of. All taken care of. So if you ever have any problems, just let me know. Then I want to talk about the resignation of Robert L. and Naki Scottalardi. Both of them are on the Cemetery Blue Ribbon Committee, and due to unanticipated commitments elsewhere, we will be out of town frequently during the remainder of this year and through 2005. He was in to visit me, and I told him we were all very sorry, but he said when they got back, maybe he could get on another committee. Nice people. So, does someone want to make the motion to accept the resignation?
Your Honor, I move we accept the resignation with regret.
Mm-hmm. Do I get a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Now I have one thing, correspondence policy. I've had to do this, and I'm going to show you why. I'm going to be asking for a policy change made by me, because I have been receiving mail left at the front desk with no sender's name or return address. Some envelopes wide open, others sealed. This has got to stop. I will not accept any mail that does not have a sender's name on the envelope and a return address. I go right back to 9/11, and at that time it was very scary for me to be opening my mail from unidentified people. Most of them were slipping them into the city's white box in front of City Hall, or leaving them with the switchboard operator as you enter the City Hall chambers. The switchboard operator has been made aware of this, as has the person who delivers the mail that starts today, May 3rd, 2004. No mail, absolutely no mail, will be accepted by the mayor's office without proper identification. It will be deposited in the wastepaper basket. And I would like to tell Councilor Whitehouse that was how I received the last letter from the Taxpayers Association, just Mayor Sorrell, wide open. But this is what I've received today, and nothing at all on the envelope. I don't know whether they feel I'm not going to open it or what. but I have to have a name and I have to have an address, or it will be going into the waste paper basket. Thank you. All right, now we're down to the assistant.
$50 bill I left for you?
We sent you one.
Madam Mayor?
Now we're down to the, what?
Before we get to the assistant mayor, I just wanted to, there was one item I think is kind of significant we missed mentioning under the city manager, and that was the scheduling of upcoming household hazardous waste collection day.
Mm-hmm.
You want me to go back to that?
Can we just mention that to the public?
No, you got to stay awake though when I ask any more questions.
Your Honor, that is we will be also issuing a press release, Counselor. But there is a reminder that the household hazardous waste collection for communities of Portsmouth, Greenland, and Newington will be held on Saturday, May 22nd from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Public Works Facility on Pebbly Hill Road. We will be issuing a press release on what will be accepted and what won't be accepted. We do this with the other towns. It's a cost-saving measure because of the economies of setting up for this household hazardous waste. Plus, there is a grant that we cooperate on from the state.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Ned.
Just
Yes.
point of question, there's no charge for any residents to dispose of any hazardous materials with this event?
Correct.
Great.
It's a great thing. You drive in and you drive out. We're all ready for the assistant mayor on his traffic and safety committee action sheet.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The first item is I move to accept the action sheet and minutes of the April 15th, 2004 Traffic and Safety Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
The second item under my name is the Parking Committee, and I move to accept the April 15th action sheet and minutes of April 15th, 2004.
Do I have a motion?
He made the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
You think I was just flying back with my head. Very good. And who seconded it?
I did.
All right, very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Do we have any miscellaneous or unfinished business? I really think it's time to go home, folks.
I'll be very brief because I told some members of the police department, I at least mentioned it tonight. We have an 8-month-old daughter, my daughter Abigail, and a lot of people think that the police just, chase speeders and get the bad guys. The one tremendous thing that they do that I think more people need to know about is they'll check car seats for infants. We have 2 cars. They've done it with both of our cars. And we have driven to other communities where they notice how fantastic the seat is in the car. It's a tremendous service. It's free of charge. You just call, and they'd be glad to do it. And they do it with a smile. And it's really one of the most important things you can do. So we're really appreciative of it, and I think a lot more people would do it if they knew about it. So I hope they know a little more now.
Thank you, Steve. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?